Where's that delay coming from?
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Code Review Club. I am Josh Owens, and we got a little lineup change going on. Let me switch on over to Zoom. There we go. Yeah, so we have Evan with us. Hey Evan, we got Steph with us again. Tyler's with us. But we lost Sean, but we gained Ian. So feels like an okay trade. I don't know. I want to keep everybody, but I'm a little sad by that. But anyway, today we're just gonna talk about TypeScript Code Review Club. If you did the exercises, great. I didn't see anyone submit anything into Airtable from outside of our group, but yeah. So let's just dive in here. Oh, I guess you guys might want to see my screen too. Share Safari. You guys see that all right? Cool. Yeah. So today we're covering Pangram. So if you're unfamiliar with what a panagram is, it just means that it's a sentence that uses every letter of the alphabet at least once. The most famous version of this in the English language is the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Yeah, so let's look at the test suite maybe. Can you do that on here anymore?
Yeah.
You can't, huh?
I think if you open an editor up there on the right.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do that. Nailed it. Wow. What up with that? Like, I literally opened the website without a problem. Well, I do have it on my machine too, so y'all get to see what Vim looks like. Whoops. No, we don't want to be in kickstand. We do want to be in exorcism. TypeScript. I started playing with Go too. Don't have enough going on in my life. Let's see, Pentagram. Alright, let's make this a little bit bigger. Yeah, so essentially the test suite is just going to give us some, they're going to call it is panagram, give it some input, and then we're expecting either true or false
We're
to
still
generate.
sharing the exorcism
Oh, you guys
screen.
can't see my
We can
screen?
see it now.
Oh,
You can see it on the live stream, but we can't see it on
yeah,
the
yeah,
Zoom.
hold on, I'll just share the whole desktop. That'll make it easier. There you go. You see it now?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we're just going through here. It imports panagram. We call it is panagram. We give it a input of some kind, and then we're expecting a boolean back, so true or false. And then they had some tricky stuff in here where they would give you numbers instead of letters, or mixed case and punctuation, right? So we had to deal with case insensitivity, that kind of stuff. So yes, I should have opened these ahead of time. We can we can look at Sean's since you put him in here. All right,
This so
Evan, you're up first.
all right. So I wrote this a month ago, so I'm gonna have to walk through myself through it a little bit. But all right. So I just started out here with a nice inserting a string, which will be the sentence that we're evaluating. And then I created like the alphabet string here, which is like all the expected letters in the alphabet. And then I split up the string we're passed in into the individual letters. And then I'm mapping through, or not mapping through, but doing a for each, so looping through each letter. If it's inside the alphabet string, I'm popping it off the alphabet string and then just waiting for the alphabet string to be zero in length. So basically just going through every time I see a letter in a word, popping it off the string, and then waiting for that string to be empty. And if it's empty, then it's a Pangram.
Interesting. Yeah. Huh. Would not have thought to do it this way, but that's kind of interesting. Nice. I think my only comment on here, the thing I probably would have dinged you for is calling your input string a string.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
You gotta have a
I
better
think
name than that, for sure.
I think it came that way potentially. I
Did
think.
it? I don't think it did.
I don't remember. Maybe not.
It
If it
actually, I
had,
don't think it had an input, because like my
you have an
first
input.
test failure was like, we can't give you a string. It's like, what? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's like, it's such a different approach than what I came up with. It's not too dissimilar, but it is. So, anyone else got any comments on that one? Three, two, one. All right. Oh, that's just the D&D one. Slack me your Pangram one there, Ian, and I'll pull it up next. Let's see. We need to rethink how this works. All right, walk us through your stuff.
Yeah, mine is like very similar to Evan's, but with a little bit opposite logic almost. But yeah, up at the top, I gave my string a rather long variable name, the sentence in question. But then down on line 3, bringing in the whole alphabet again as a string. But then I'm setting a count, so I'm just starting at initializing at 0. And on line 6, and then taking that entire alphabet string and turning it into an array, and then I'm mapping through it. And then I'm just looking to see if the sentence in question includes a letter from the alphabet string. And if it does, then the count increments by 1. And then I check at the end on 12 just to see if it reached 26, which look at here.
Interesting. Definitely A+ on that variable name. That might be one of the longer variable names I've seen.
We went opposite ways there.
Yeah.
Yeah, like totally. every aspect of it, we went the opposite way.
We did, yeah, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Okay. So mapping over the alphabet and looking at the alphabet letter. I think this one's closer to the way I went. I'll have to look at it again when we get to mine, but I think this one was a little bit closer as I like counted up to 26.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I like the idea of just counting down to 0, but
I feel like you probably could have inlined this. Just look at like length.
True.
And maybe map returns an array. Yeah, maybe map was the wrong thing to use here because like you're returning an array that goes nowhere, right?
Yeah, sure.
Or you could have saved the map off and just returned the letter in question.
Could have, made it less text that way for sure.
Yeah, this is one of those like fun ones too because like you're looping over like 2 different arrays really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Oh, okay. I see. Ian didn't do Pangram. We'll get you on D&D character. D&D character was definitely like way more involved.
Mm-hmm.
Might be one of the more advanced ones we've done yet. Tyler, you slacked me here. Just 1 sec. Oh, there's a lot of white space. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Clean that up next time. But you may win for Code Golf. Go.
So my first inclination was to reach for regex. So yeah, just returning a new set to make sure that a new set of the sentence to lowercase to make sure that all the characters are unique and lowercase, and then reaching for a match of alpha characters A through Z globally, and then checking the size of the set to be 26.
Yeah, nice. I like that. I reached for a set on my solution as well, but this one was definitely different going for the match. I like that's kind of interesting because if you only match the letters, then you should get out 26, right? And the
Yeah.
other thing we probably haven't talked about before is like the in JavaScript a set is just a group of unique, right? So like when you call sentence 2 lowercase, it's going to explode it out into an array of letters, and then it'll only grab out all the unique letters and numbers out of the array.
Yeah.
So if like T is in there twice, it'll only pull one out.
Yeah, I think looking at it, I would probably reach for include if I did it again, just because it's like I know that regex can be not super performant. So
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be too worried about the performance on this. I feel like you'd probably be okay, and like this isn't an overly complex regex either, right? Like, I think Evan could paste over a particularly hairy regex we were using for a while to check for a URL. That was gross. Did not like that.
Not good.
But yeah, I don't know, that's pretty good. I like it. All right, let me pull mine up. Pangram. I cleaned mine up a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So I just used the spread syntax here and just took the string and spread it into an array of strings. And then here so I just called that alphabet. And then here we have the is panagram. It takes an input string, returns a Boolean. And then I take the input letters and spread that 2 lowercase into a set. So similar to what Tyler did there. And then I just filtered through and returned any letters that we did match. So this is where I get a little bit closer to like what Steph was doing in his. So the filter will return each letter as it matches, and then we just check to see if we got 26. Thoughts, comments, opinions?
That's good. That's a little combo.
yeah.
Yeah, I really wanted a way. I was kind of googling around to see if there was some way to do like a set difference or a set union and then like give me the bits, but you can't like I initially had like this was a set up here, but I couldn't figure out how to do that. But I knew I still had to do D&D, so just kind of moved on. All right. Cool. So that is Panagram. Any comments or questions, stuff from the people watching?
Not so far.
Okay, cool. If anyone does have comments and questions, we are paying attention to that, so feel free to leave stuff there, and we will happily take questions or whatever. I'm thinking maybe for next time we'll set up a Discord chat. Maybe that'll be interesting. All right. So we'll start with an explanation. So if you don't know what Dungeons and Dragons is, it's a game you play with dice. It involves a lot of math. You have to figure out like you have modifiers. So if you're like really strong and you're using a weapon, you get like +2 because you're strong. So this is about like rolling up a character with ability scores and then also figuring out what the modifiers are. And those modifiers determine, like for instance, Constitution determines your hit points. So there's some formulas kind of in here. So they want you to do dice rolls, and you roll a 6-sided die 4 times, and you discard the lowest, and then you sum up the rest. Yeah?
Yep.
So we're gonna have a little conversation here because Steph got a little teaser on this. Let me move over and we'll pull up that test suite because it was not good enough in my opinion. And
This test suite?
Yeah, and you'll see why when you look at my solution. All right. Whoops. There we go. So they have these describe blocks in here where they call D&D character.get modifier 4, and they're basically giving you the ability score, and you're supposed to give it back the modifier, right? And they give you a formula for that. It's supposed to be 10. What was it? Now I gotta look again. 10 plus your ability score divided by 2, I believe. Right, let's look at that. So 3. No, that's not right. Minus 10. Yeah. That's how you get the modifier. So 3 minus 10 is -7. Then you divide by half, round down. That gives you -4. Right? And so they run through, I think they have like, this is some pretty brute force coverage on the modifier, making sure that it's giving you all the possibilities correctly. That, great test suite. I think you could probably put this into like set like pairs and like pass each pair and just have one test. I don't know. I like readable tests, so maybe this is okay. And then down here, you're supposed to have a generate ability score, and they just want to check that ability score is greater than or equal to 3 or less than or equal to 18, right? So if you roll 3 dice and you add the numbers together, that the least you could get is 3, or if you had 3 sixes, 18, right? So that's what they're checking for here is the dice roll. Not a good test. And then we come down here and they're looking to, the README wasn't great either on this one, I thought, because it didn't really outline what you're trying to accomplish. Yeah, I had to look at the test to kind of get the gist of it. Was it that way for you guys too?
Yeah, I just kept doing stuff until the test passed.
So they just want to instantiate the D&D character object and return that, but then they want the character object to have hit point, strength, dexterity, constitution, intelligence, wisdom, charisma. Those are all the various stats in D&D. And then they just check to make sure that you are getting between a 3 and an 18 on these as well. And then this one isn't a bad test because it's actually looking at the hit points. So there's a formula they put in you take 10 plus the modifier to get your hit points. So you had to use the modifier as well on the constitution to figure out the hit points. So that was kind of fun. And then I thought this was kind of weird. Each ability is only calculated once, so they are doing like a full equality check to make sure character strength equals character strength. And they weren't like, basically you're not like re-rolling the dice. They want you to save it off, right, as part of the properties of the class, which is weird.
They don't test anywhere to make sure you toss a die.
Good call. Yeah, all right, so we'll start with Ian's since you didn't have one last time. Walk us through it. Oh, did you copy mine?
Yeah, that's yours actually. That's not mine.
Okay.
I must have here. I can give you mine. That's funny.
Either
No, I didn't go.
Well, I'll walk through mine while we're waiting.
Right. Yeah.
Spoiler, line 21 is where the tests were not really checking on things correctly. Yeah, so we just have a class. I just set up properties at the top there for hit point, strength, dexterity, constitution, all that stuff. I wasn't really sure. They didn't really make any specifications about whether it should be private or public. I do feel like we're accessing them, so I just left them public. That does kind of leave them open to someone could just come in and set it which might not be the best thing to do. But I didn't really feel like writing a bunch of getters just to make them private and then not settable. But that is something to think about with this block of code right here. Is you might, if you put like I think it's just a pound in front of these, or the hashtag symbol in front of these guys, that would make them private. But we do need to access them outside, so and then I just set up a constructor, and then I just called generate ability score on each of these settings, abilities, that's what they call them. And then here we just take hit points and we run the calculation. A little typo there. 10 plus the get modifier for constitution. And then again, since they're just checking that I'm returning between a 3 and an 18, I just made the test pass and returned a 4.
I looked at this after I submitted mine, and it was upsetting because I was like, "Oh my god, really?
Yeah.
That's it?"
Yeah. Work through the test one at a time and make them pass. Yeah. So I definitely think the test suite could use a little improvement. I did try to think through that a little bit. I couldn't think of a way to do it off the top of my head. The only thing I could come up with, and this would not be perfect, would just be to look at like all the ability scores and make sure you have at least 2 different ability scores. But I mean,
That's not even guaranteed.
yeah, probabilistically you shouldn't have a failure, but and that would force you to at least do more work in this function. But it still wouldn't get you all the way there. But yeah. So and then for the modifier, I just took ability value minus 10 divide by 2 and then use math.floor. At first, I don't know why I was using math.round, which would round up if it was above 4.4 or whatever, right? You'd get a 5 and that was failing. So gotta use math.floor. Those D&D writers are mean to you. Yeah, all right. Let's see. Pull up Ian's. Yeah, I don't know. That's still the same. Oh, I know why. You gotta share it, I think, publicly.
Oh, you do? Oh.
Yeah. So when you there should be a like mark complete, and then you say share it, and then you should have a shareable link. I'll pull up someone else's while we're doing that.
Pangram. Oh, D&D. There you go.
Here we go. Oh, nice. You made yours read only.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Walk us through.
Yeah, so I did literally the same thing as you, but I also included the actual dice rolling.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Where's your modifier? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that looks pretty similar.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Walk
I
us
just
through the dice rolling.
dice rolling thing. So I just let's see, set an array up there, and then did a little for loop so we could like set how many ability scores we wanted to roll, or how many dice we wanted to roll, in case we wanted to change it at some point. Right now we're just rolling it 4 times. Adding each number, we're pushing into the array, doing math random of 1 through 6. And then we are just kicking out the lowest one here in the sorted.shift. So we're the const sorted, we're putting them in order so we know which one to kick. And then we're just picking the one in the lowest.
Is the default on sort? I didn't look this up. I thought the default on sort was to handle numbers correctly. Is it not?
So what do you mean?
It should be. Yeah, I think it's lowest highest.
Yeah, that might be it.
Okay.
I think I just Googled it or something. I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not
This
sure
was
that you needed the function inside here.
Yeah,
Like,
that's it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you can just have sort and it will put them in
Yeah.
a second.
I think you do, like, if you were sorting letters and wanted them to be in a weird order or something, you would have to drop to a function, but I'm not sure that piece was needed. But yeah, shift, yeah, that's good. And then you just reduce to add them all together. Nice. Good work. Yeah, I don't know if I love this, but I like that you're thinking about, like, what if we want to roll 6 dice or something, right? Or 5 dice, then you would increment that to 6. So that is settable. So if you went this far, I would
Set it as a
pull
variable
that
somewhere.
up as like a constant up at the top or something. Yeah. All right. Let's see if this one works. There we go. We got Ian's.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah, very similar, I think, to the last solution.
Yeah, walk us through. Oh, you definitely went code golf on the get modifier for X.
I had to get it in there.
Yeah. Walk us through your ability score then.
Yeah, the ability score just is there's an empty array here at roll dice. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Right. No. Yeah. Roll dice. In roll dice, there's an empty array. For loop goes 4 times. For 6-sided dice, and then sort it lowest to highest, and then shift up, get rid of the first number, the lowest number, and just return that sorted shift array. And then reduce, let's see, roll. So yeah, I call the roll dice function and reduce and just basically sum it. So for all 6 rolls.
Yeah, pretty close. Although, why
Should be
did
a 5.
you have a 4 here and Evan had a 5?
Yeah, I saw that too.
Interesting.
I think that should be a 5, right?
I did 4 for
Well, 0.
4
right?
rolls,
0,
right?
1, 2, 3.
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a problem with that test, is that like
the test doesn't really cover it. You just in your test run, you were lucky because it didn't roll any rando numbers that were all. Had you rolled all 6s, it would have been obvious.
mhm.
That test not great.
Before I looked at the test, I was actually trying to make this as a functional component. I was trying to avoid using a class, but
Oh yeah.
so I spent probably half an hour, and I could not think of a way to do it.
Yeah.
very much
At all.
class.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that anywhere.
Yeah, I think it's probably a little weird to think about like classes in JavaScript. They're like newer. I feel like they were introduced in 2016, but I could be wrong. It might have been before that, but they weren't. Like React definitely made them a bigger thing in the JavaScript community.
Uh-huh.
All right. Yeah, mine's got bits of Evans and bits of Ian's, but isn't quite as nice, I don't think. I just like got kind of sick of like how much is going on, so I tried to make my code reusable.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's see. I'll just go into the function since the class stuff is all pretty much the same. But all right, sort of unnecessarily, I'm realizing now on 23, I just created an array of the scores though, just to keep track of what I was rolling.
Yeah.
Then on 26, I have my dice roll function for rolling 1 dice. But then for reusability's sake, or just being silly, I guess I did a multiple dice roll function that could be reused, where kind of like what Evan was doing, you can pick how many dice you want to put into it.
Yeah.
So I just have that number of dice going in for the counter. And then on 34, I'm just rolling it there for 4. Yeah. And then
That's interesting. Wait, though. How do you get the lowest one out?
So I do that. I'm using probably way too much code here, but I don't know. It was getting code golfing confusing to me. So this, for whatever reason, I was like, I'll separate it out into things to make it readable.
Code readability is a prized thing, in my opinion. So.
But now I'm wondering if it is. Anyway, so yeah, here's where I sort it though. Generate score from dice is another function on 37. And that's where I take the array actually. And then on 38, I just do this sort because they're just like single digits. So we'll sort them ascending in ascending order, and then use shift just to cut off the first one, which will be the lowest.
Yeah.
And then reduce it and then return it.
Yeah.
Which but yeah, after seeing Ian's, I'm like, wow, I did a lot of that same stuff, but his is all like nicely packaged and
Yeah, I would
it's
dig
new
you
vision.
here. Like, definitely don't call it my array. Uh,
Okay.
and then again, like, don't love the for loop. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, you could have just taken the number of dice and just like gone over the number probably.
Hmm.
There would have been a different way to do it, like more functional style. And the other thing I would say is if you're gonna bust these out into functions, essentially, I would have moved them up to be their own function that this
Oh, nice.
function could call. Right? Don't let them be
Yeah,
defined
yeah, bigger
inside of
function.
here. Yeah. Uh,
I guess I kind of like the same thing. Actually, I'm realizing now too. I did start just trying to make this like a function component before it was like turned into a class too.
yeah. I would.
Yeah.
How far did you get?
Yeah, I think I was like most of the way, and then I was like, wait, how do I actually like turn this? How do I actually like create this? Yeah,
That's
way
when I
too
looked at the test. I realized you should look at the test first,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's basically just, yeah.
Yeah. That's how I start reading the tests and then I go do the code. I actually run the test too before I start the code just to make sure that it's failing in a way that is good. Because like when you start, you actually can't. The test won't even run because you don't have these here. And then
Mm,
if you just put those bits at the top, it still throws an error because you don't have these bits there. So like you have to honestly write a good bit of code before it would ever be usable. Uh, but I think the one other point I would make is like if you do break these out into little functions like that, I think that's fine. But again, the other reason I would pull them out and make them their own functions kind of living on the class is that they become more testable as well, right? So you could have like tested roll multiple dice to make sure it was doing the thing you cared about. So
true. Yeah,
that's
that's great.
not a bad thing. But yeah, cool. And then Tyler, let's pull yours up.
So looking at everyone else's, I probably should have declared the attributes up top and then created a constructor. Um,
This worked though,
but
yeah.
yeah,
Is this
um,
is this shorthand to just say replace the constructor? I think it is.
I guess so. Yeah, this is, yeah, doing that. And then I guess I'll just talk about the generatability score.
Hmm.
I used a while loop declaring dice count, and then was just sorting highest to lowest and then popping the last off.
Okay, yeah. So you threw a function in there too. Interesting. I would think this is a bug. I think you're popping the top one off. What's pop take, the first or the last?
It's the last.
Last.
Okay. Yeah, you would be
I'm
okay.
sorting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is so it's tricky, right? So you sort in descending order and then you're taking the last one off, whereas everyone else sorted in ascending order and took, I think shift takes the first one, right? So
Yeah.
two different approaches. That makes sense then why you had this function in here. Huh. Yeah. Oh, see, you had the wonderful like
Yeah.
but then like you two-lined this guy right here. I'm guessing, so my suspicion is you were console logging at some point, which is why this might be a two-liner.
Probably, yeah.
I always do that where it'll be like const ability value. This is maybe not the best to do though. I will say this, like don't take in a variable here and then use it, but then overwrite it. Like
Oh, okay.
I would probably ding you on that in a code review and say like give this variable another name. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in reality, I think you could have like just put the return right here instead of ability value equals, and you would have achieved the same thing.
Definitely.
Yeah. Nice.
I love that you got rid of the constructor. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it? I mean, I'm just assuming that's shorthand for running that when you instantiate. So that's got to be the same as a constructor.
Yeah, it was 3 months ago, and it was like my first like delve into classes and stuff, and I think I just had like a happy accident,
Yeah.
as Bob Ross would say.
Yeah. So I will say, Evan, you probably won the Security Consciousness Award on D&D character because you put private on all those, or read only. That's what you did, which was probably the right way to go. I didn't even realize that. I was looking at like just making them fully private, but then you got to write the getter. So yeah, good work, guys. Let's see, exercises. Where do you see the in order list?
Available, I think.
They used to have an
Overview, maybe?
Huh?
The overview?
Yeah,
No.
there we go.
It might be. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So we did those. So we'll do Bob. Okay. Yeah. So we'll do Bob. And then Matrix. Okay. Yeah. These look like they'll be fun. And we'll do this in 2 weeks. So if you are watching this, we will do this. Today, 21st, so February 4th. Yeah, we'll do it February 4th at 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll have another live stream going, and then we'll put the link to the Airtable. So if you want to submit yours, like we're happy to look those over and talk through those and give you feedback on your solutions as well. Yeah, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.